Hi everyone, I am Gabby and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm here to help you understand yourself better and build a life that feels truly aligned with who you are. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to stick around. In today's video, I will show you 3 tips on how to grow genuine self-confidence and start believing in yourself for real. Not as a mask, not as a pretense, not as a facade done to impress other people. Genuine self-trust and self-confidence comes for your greater good, it's for your higher purpose and for your higher self. And I'm sure that by the end of this video, you will have gained knowledge that will help you immensely in your journey ahead. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I strongly believe that everyone has that inner sparkle and inner strength, and it's usually buried underneath external expectations, other people's expectations of you, the world telling you who you should or shouldn't be, or asking you to fit into boxes that are simply too small for you and your uniqueness and your talent. It could even be health diagnosis that you just didn't see coming. So that is why I believe that these tips will work wonders for you, exactly like they did work wonders for me too. So my number one tip for you is avoid putting and placing other people on a pedestal and making them an authority in your life. So please listen up, because this is very important. We all have role models who we look up to. There are people that we consider icons who have amazing capabilities, whether those are content creators, business owners, someone who fulfilled their dreams, who is a go-getter, who has the confidence. And it's absolutely wonderful to admire and to look up to someone or to have role models, whether those are famous people or people in your close circle. That can breed inspiration, it can cause you to want to be better, it can ask you to learn new skills. It's like a nice way to push yourself to get out there and to become, uncomfortable and learn something new. There is a fine line between looking up to someone, admiring someone, and actually glamorizing them, idolizing them, or idealizing them at the expense of yourself and by downplaying your own uniqueness and your own strengths. Okay, so it's very important to monitor yourself whether you're doing that by actually downplaying yourself, which can unintentionally put you at a less than level compared to that other person who you're placing very high up and very high above yourself. So what does it mean to idolize someone? It means that you're seeing them as perfect, flawless, or that actually they're much better than they are in reality. And as we do this, we usually tend to filter out their flaws while we exaggerate our own flaws. And the issue with this is you're not just elevating the other person, but you're simultaneously lowering yourself. So your brain doesn't just think, wow, this person here is amazing. It sort of creates a secondary statement, and therefore I am less. This creates an invisible gap between you and the other person where they're here and you're only here. And the brain actually starts believing that this gap is real, even though it may not be. And the issue with the brain is you don't want it to see that there is too wide a gap between you and that other person, because it's not going to let you think that it's easy to bridge that gap, and it will put you at that less than position, which is not a neutral position, and it will seem like the journey to bridge that gap and to get up to the level to the other person is actually extremely difficult, and most probably you're not even gonna try. Now, I'm not talking about when you're a child and your parent is your authority, because as you're growing up, it's completely normal to have a caregiver or someone to be your authority. In order to cultivate genuine self-confidence and believe in yourself, you need to learn how to become your own authority in life and to put yourself on a pedestal and to become your own role model. Okay, so here is my practical tip on how you can admire someone and see them as proof of what is possible for you too, not as proof of what you're not, because this is very important to be able to flip the script so that you see someone, your role model or someone in your close circle, as proof of what's possible for you to become rather than proof of your limitations. And this is how you bridge the invisible gap between where you think they are and where you think you are, which very often is just in your own imagination, in your head. So here is how you flip the script. There is a concept by Viktor Frankl in his book Man's Search for Meaning, and he talks about the space between a stimulus and a reaction. And he says that in between that stimulus and that reaction is where our power of choice lies. So what do I mean by that? Now, you can imagine the stimulus being every time you see someone that has these amazing qualities and you believe that they're doing amazing in life and they have it all figured out and they're experts in their field. And your reaction is the way that you react to that stimulus, the way that you speak to yourself. You have these automatic thoughts, okay? The brain is a creature of habit and it usually fires up automatic thoughts, which are usually based on limiting beliefs, past experiences, trauma, the way that we've grown up, our environment, all of those factors. The problem with the brain being a creature of habit is exactly those automatic thoughts. When you have a stimulus, you would have these automatic reactions to that stimulus. The thoughts that would come to your head or, that you would immediately go to are, wow, they can do it because they're smarter, they have more support, they have more money, they're more their nervous system is more regulated, anything that you can possibly think of. And the problem with not challenging their thoughts is if you let them run wild, the brain will simply, create an even bigger distance between you and the other person. So it will convince you that the gap is so wide that it's not even worth trying, and it's so difficult to get to that level and to get up to a level playing field of where you want to be. In that exact moment, what Viktor Frankl is saying, you have a choice, okay? In the gap between the stimulus and the reaction, you get to choose. You get to choose how you want to react to those automatic thoughts. Do you want to challenge them, or do you want to simply believe them and let them run absolutely wild? Because if you actually don't challenge these thoughts and if you let the brain take over, it will take you on a roller coaster ride and it will start telling you things like, I'm not good enough, I will never have what they have, I will never get this, I will never get that. And it's extremely easy and tricky to get down that road. And your brain is only doing its job. Your brain is trying to keep you safe from an evolutionary standpoint. Being in your comfort zone, simply following automatic thoughts and just, not getting out of your comfort zone, out of the box, challenging yourself or pushing yourself to grow is what meant safety. So your brain is not against you, but sometimes you really do need to pause and to challenge it. So from that perspective, what keeps you safe doesn't automatically mean that it will make you grow. What I want you to try and do is to use this concept of the stimulus, the reaction, and the gap in between to actually challenge these negative thoughts and actually start to believe that, I have a choice, and my choice is the way that I react when I'm being confronted by someone who I simply believe is so much better than me, or someone who has it all together, or someone that looks like they have nothing wrong going on in their lives. It's your reaction and it's the way that you choose to see things and the way that you choose to react to things that makes the biggest difference in the world. So the moment when you actually start to challenge this and when you catch yourself and interrupt that pattern, because as we said, the gap between the stimulus and the reaction is what gives us our power back, you will see very often that your brain is trying to come up with excuses. The point of challenging is to actually ask yourself the question, wait, is that actually reality, or is my brain trying to make me look smaller or to make me shrink myself? The most important thing is to learn how not to shrink yourself. And when you challenge those thoughts, those negative automatic thoughts, I want you to ask yourself the following 4 questions. What makes that person, the idol or someone in my close circle, so much more brilliant in my head? Or what makes them so brilliant in my head, okay? And who decided that I'm not brilliant? That is a really good question. Who decided that I'm not brilliant? And have I ever looked at myself in the same way that I look at this other person? Have I ever given myself the same level of admiration, the same level of belief, the same level of credit that I give to the other person? And you will see that we're so quick to idealize, glamorize other people, and we almost never do that for ourselves. The whole point of this exercise is to become your own authority, to start putting yourself on a pedestal, which I think is so important to learn how to do. Okay, so the second tip that I want to give you is stop accepting society's expectations as your life's mission. Okay, I'm smiling as I say that because I know this one will resonate a lot with you. I see this a lot, okay? I see it in conversations, I see it online, and it usually surrounds things like timelines, the way that people live their life and their personal timeline, okay? Your timeline is your timeline. No one in this life can tell you what your life should look like, what your timeline should look like. The moment when I feel, unsubscribe from urgency culture and the requirements to fit yourself into a box and do everything as it's expected by others and by society, you're saying no to the external factors and you're immediately bringing like the power back to yourself. That creates an enormous sense of self-trust, okay? And someone else's expectation of what your life should look like and the timeline that your life is currently at is none of your concern. That is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for some people. Very often someone is at a stage in their life where, for example, they're doing really well in their career and they don't want to get married right at this second or have children. They want to take some time off to do some traveling. They want to experience certain things, even take some time off for themselves, okay? But then society starts asking you questions like, when are you getting married? Your clock's ticking. And, you have to think about that. You have to think about this. Very often the pressure that we put on ourselves to fit into someone else's expectation is enormous. And that sort of pressure is not helping you. It's not helping you grow. It's not helping you be better. It's simply taking you away from your genuine path, the path of your higher self, the path that perhaps you were put on this earth and on this planet to fulfill. I strongly believe that everyone comes here with a mission, which is unique, which is unlike anyone else's mission. So if we all have these unique missions on why and whys we're here, why are we comparing our timelines? Like, why are we comparing apples and oranges? In math, we always have to compare after we convert something to the same unit. So why are we comparing apples and oranges here? You're not responsible to please other people when it comes to how your life looks, okay? And you're responsible, I feel, not to take actions that hurt others, but as long as you're living your life, you're thriving, you're following your own timeline, you're being the creator of your life, you're already doing amazing. And no one should tell you otherwise. But sometimes we do get a lot of unsolicited advice and external chatter, and it kind of get in the way of our free will. So here is my practical tip on how to stop living by other people's expectations, okay? It's called the art of filtering out. I thought that it rhymes, but it doesn't. No, it doesn't rhyme. Anyway, you can hear and acknowledge what other people say. You can thank them and appreciate their input, and you can still filter it out, and very importantly, not internalize it. And then the minute when you take a deep breath and pause and you say to yourself, thank you for your input, but I will not internalize it. You can even sort of in your mind create an invisible wall between you and the other person, or you can imagine like a golden sphere of light between you and the other person. Of course, this is happening in your mind's eye. You're visualizing it. And you can imagine that this sphere or wall is protecting you from the energy of the other person, which could be with really, really good intentions, but you don't need that external chatter right now. You need to reaffirm your own self, your own beliefs, and you want to thank them for their input. But at the same time, it's very important, you don't want to internalize. So I want you to pause, do this exercise, and then reaffirm the following. I believe enough in my own timeline. I believe in my ability to manifest things. I believe in my ability to live my life as I see fit. And I believe in myself enough not to be shaped by other people's experiences, other people's expectations, and society's expectations overall. Okay, so we've come to the third tip. Listen up, it's wonderful. It has helped me so much. It worked wonders for me. People talk to you usually through their own limitations and projections of what they cannot do, not what you cannot do, okay? You hear someone tell you something negative, and instead of challenging it, instead of having some critical thinking about it, usually what we do, because I do that a lot, we tend to internalize it and we let it get to us, we take it on a personal level. The problem with that is, and I'll give you an example so it's clearer. You want to start a TikTok page where you upload videos of your pet, okay? And you share it with your colleague at work who is not someone who is very close to you, but you still kind of want to get some reassurance for your idea, or you just want to share and, get them, excited about your idea, for example. And someone either from your closest circle or that colleague at work tells you, you know what, it won't work out. It doesn't seem like it's gonna pan out. I don't think you're gonna make enough money. Why don't you get something more stable in the current economy that we're in? Why don't you focus on something more productive, more lucrative? And the issue with that is your colleague can say whatever they want to say, right? You cannot control other people's opinions. You cannot control what people say to you. I mean, you can try the filtering out exercise that we just mentioned with the sphere. You can try to reaffirm your own beliefs. But there is something else that I want you to focus on, which goes on a bit of a deeper level. You will catch yourself immediately after hearing those negative scenarios or, hypothetical situations. You will start having those what if scenarios in your head. The what if scenarios are, you hear the colleague saying that and you immediately go to, what if they're right? What if it doesn't pan out? What if I don't make it? What if I actually don't get sufficient money from this? What if I don't monetize it? The what if scenario, by definition, is a hypothetical situation. If you hear yourself having thoughts that start with what if, you're already not in the present moment, okay? You're already in a hypothetical bubble where you are imagining things that could or could not happen. What is the definition of a what if scenario? It is imagined, something assumed, something theorized. It's not grounded in fact and it's not proven reality. So it means your brain is firing up a scenario of what could happen, but it means it might not ever happen. So step one is catch yourself when you're experiencing the what ifs. They're very tricky. Okay, your brain can come up with 1,000 reasons of why something might not pan out. It's very often going to cause you to abandon the idea and not follow it through. And it's devastating how many people put their dreams on hold or their creative ideas to the side because of someone else's hypothetical scenarios. The second step, you should know that what people say to you is really a projection of their own self. It's a projection of their own limitations. It has very little to do with you. It's based on their past experiences, their past trauma, usually their own fears of limitations, or maybe they experience something similar to what you're about to experience and they think it's going to work out exactly similarly to how it worked out for them. No one can tell you that, okay? The what if scenarios, what if it doesn't work out, you can always flip the script and say what if it does. And usually we tend to look at things a bit more on the negative side. It's a bit of a negativity bias that we experience. So it's very important to stop yourself in the tracks and challenge it. Very often when people are saying things to you, they're projecting, they're talking to themselves, they're talking to their younger self, or maybe they made a mistake that they want to correct for. It's your job not to take things personally. You cannot stop what is going on in the external world. You cannot control what anyone else is saying. What you can control, again, is your reaction. Going back to our first point, the stimulus and the reaction. You have that gap, okay? You control your reaction to other people's projections, other people's limitation. This is where your power lies. So those are my 3 tips on how you can strengthen your faith and your belief in yourself, disattach and disengage from other people's limitation, strengthen your own inner voice, and start to put yourself as an authority. So if you're interested, if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, liking this video. You can share it with your friends if you wish, and you can click the notification bell if you want to get notified of any future content that I'll be posting. In this channel, I'll be deep diving a lot more into concepts like boundaries, setting yourself free from certain expectations, sharing my own personal story on autoimmune conditions, how I got better, more resilient, healthier, how I regulated my nervous system. why I'm choosing a path that's unique to me. So if you're interested in any of that, you can feel free to stick around. Also, if any of this resonated with you, please share it in the comments. I feel like everyone's story is so unique, so I would be very interested to read what you have to say. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a privilege.